So what's up, Mr. Willie? We're back again, another week. Here we go. A lot of stuff happening. We're gonna
It
go
most
in. We're just gonna jump right in, man.
Yeah, we going in. You know what? And I'm glad you had a blessed Thanksgiving, and all the people out there. I hope they had a nice Thanksgiving.
Absolutely.
But after Thanksgiving, and when you sit and look at where we are as a nation, as a people, this is the most frightening time I have ever experienced in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
I'm
You've seen
looking
some
at this.
stuff.
Yeah, this president is like, dude, you're not gonna concede? And I'm looking at him and thinking like, bro, everybody know you lost by like 7 million votes. I don't care if you did
That's,
get 74 million. You lost
yeah,
by 80 some million. So that's how it works. And
yeah.
I'm looking at him and I'm looking at the people they're so spineless, they will not stand up to this guy. And
Mm-hmm.
now he got the pardon parole going on. It's just
Yeah.
like all the people that got money, he's gonna pardon them. How do you get how do you lose an election? But since that day, you have raised $207 million, and we know what that money is for. It's not for you
It
to run
says
in
it's
2024. It's to
no.
keep you out of jail.
It says in well, it says in the email. By the way, my name's Iz. This is Mr. Willie. We're going in with Willie and Iz, another
Yeah,
show. But yeah, just to talk about what you're saying is that yeah, basically he's conning his people. He's conning his people again. He conned everybody to vote for him, and he's still conning people. Again, he's playing the scare tactics with
yeah.
a certain population. And I know, and actually, I was watching a show, and they were talking about, it's very apparent. It's very apparent what he's doing, but it's sad that people don't see it. But what he's doing now is he's saying, I won the election. We all know we won. And he says these things again to brainwash you. But what he's saying to everybody is like, I won the election. Don't let them. This is the biggest fraud in the United States. I need you to help me fight. I need you to help me fight. But in that email that he's asking for money, he's saying a portion of it is going to go to his legal defense fund, Rudy Giuliani, and then the rest of it is going to go for him basically to run again, to do whatever he needs to do with his campaign for 2024 or whatever he's going to do.
Yeah.
Maybe it's to help fight his battles with New York, like we talked about. He's again, it's a long con, and again, it's a sad thing to see that people don't see it. But you know what?
But you know what? It's
Fool me
what
once, shame on me. Fool me twice, shame on you, as they say.
what he's had done is like he's almost like he's 100% uh television production. We're just
Yeah,
gonna
he's
keep saying it over and over and over again till you think it's true,
brainwashed. It's
and
brainwashed.
people buy into that. Uh,
Mhm.
I'm looking at him. Even tomorrow, he's supposed to go to Georgia because this is probably like the most crucial two Senate seats
Yeah,
out of all the elections, the ones in
yeah,
Georgia.
true. Yeah, it
But
tips the
now he's
balance.
saying, now the Republican Party. I saw one guy was saying like, I just want my people not to vote again because all the crooked stuff they done. So I'm thinking
Mhm.
on one end, if you're a Democrat, you're saying like, okay, you guys stay at home,
Yeah,
just don't vote.
yeah.
Uh,
Then I think that's part of the tactic. It's a tactic. These
yeah,
people think. These people think, and it's smart. I take nothing away from them. It's
no,
smart because they play the long game. They play 2 or 3 steps ahead, and they're looking at by they're saying, well, if these Republicans don't go vote, then we got it in the bag. We're going to win this seat in Georgia. We're going to win
yeah,
these 2 seats in Georgia.
this
No, no,
this
no. You need to go back out there and do what you need
yeah, because you know what, I saw something the other day. Made me remind me of a little thing I had with some of his supporters,
to. Uh-huh.
and this was prior to Biden actually electing Kamala to be his vice president, and I saw somebody saying like, well, we got to make sure he don't get her as a vice president.
Mhm.
So now I'm turning it forward, and I'm reading something about Stacey Abrams. Stacey Abrams seems to have more power than Kamala because she is one is behind all these the voter
Organized.
suppression. She's the
Yeah.
one, and so in my mind, I'm thinking like, well, you know what? I'm kind of hoping that Stacey Abrams doesn't run for elected office
Uh-huh.
because if she runs for elected office, then it kind of like I'll give you a typical example. like if you was a strong union steward and you was getting your members to go along with changing things, but the management is saying like, well, you know what, we gotta get him out of there and just
Mhm.
hire him on as a supervisor or something like this to take him away from these people because then we
There's
would
too much
diminish their
influence.
power. Yeah. And that's what they're looking at. So I'm hoping that Stacey Abrams doesn't ever run for office because I think she's more powerful outside. She, look at Barack Obama right now. He's more powerful now than he was when he was in office. They had him in a little box where he couldn't do things. And now I'm thinking, is he pseudo president? Because I'm reading his book and every time I look around, he's on some talk show.
Yeah,
It's
and he's
like,
been talked about. He's been
yeah.
talked about. They haven't.
And
I don't think 1 week went by in this last 4 years that this administration didn't bring up either the last president or something about his administration. I really
yeah,
don't think you can go back and check the tape, but I don't think that's what it was because there was always an onus about this president needs a villain, and so he needs the villain. So what he's trying to do is saying that even though he lost by 7 million votes, that he won. He has these people coming in and testifying, these star witnesses that are clowns. It's a clown. It's a clown show.
it
I
is.
don't know what else to say. That's a clown show. She comes in and she's talking like, well, I know this and I know that. So and the way she's just speaking to these legislatures, it's just really telling because once you've been caught, you kind of try to
Trying to clean
control
it
the
up.
narrative. They learn it, and they learned this whole tactic from the president because what she's saying to these people was that the guy said, one of the legislators said, no, we don't see a difference. No, not more than 30,000 votes. And she said, no, it's over 100,000 votes. And she
Yeah.
goes, well, did you guys do something with it? Did you guys do something with it? Like, so she puts it out there. And so now you have people absorbing it. And so you have the people on the far right that are going to look at it and magnify that and be like, you know what? She testified, and here's what she said. And they're going to be blowing it up on Twitter. Russia's going to come in with their bots and spread it
And
like they do. And so now you're going to have millions and millions of people that are going to say, no, here's what happened. And the reality is it's not. It's just they took a piece of information, skewed it, and try to fabricate it to make it seem like it's something more than it really is. And that's how they do. It's smart, but you know what? People have to be smarter. We have to be smarter as a society.
really, because I'm thinking like there is no way you and I and some other people we know can't be the only one seeing this. You know, like, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, but there's other people saying like, man, this is the worst con game that they're trying to conduct. And I mean, look at the pardon. I mean, like, dude, his pardon, he right now they just driving through just like you do a Burger King. Just
Yeah.
drive up where you want today. I want a pardon. Okay, come on through. We'll be waiting for you 1 to 2. You know, like what the fuck? You know, and these
Yeah.
are known criminals. Look at who was it that he
Flynn,
just pardoned? The general.
Flynn,
Yeah,
General
Flynn.
Flynn.
And the next day he said, Mr. President, you ought to impose martial law. And I'm
Martial
thinking
law, suspend the Constitution, he said.
that, but you lied before Congress. And now you're going to talk about let's impose martial law. And it's so sad is because man, we losing so many people like every minute.
Yeah.
That we're so consumed by this clown that they're not really talking about what's the reality.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, dude, you lost. We shouldn't even give him any more press.
Yeah.
If you can't show me evidence that we had rigged the election, you know, we're not talking to you anymore. We need to address this situation monetarily. Look how many people are losing their home and losing everything. We got fires, we got nor'easters, we got everything going on, but they still got us stuck on Homie the Clown.
Yep.
And we have to get past this fool, man,
Yeah.
because he's gonna be a thorn in their side regardless.
Yeah.
January 22nd, he's gonna be tweeting away how he was robbed about this election.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
When
This ain't gonna change. This isn't gonna change.
No, we gotta just assume and expect this is what's gonna happen because we're talking with a person that cannot accept failure. Even though he's been the biggest failure since the
Biggest loser.
time.
There was a show called The Biggest Loser. He's gonna do Biggest Loser 2 on January 22nd.
Yeah,
He's gonna start a show, and I wanna put dibs on that name for him in his show.
yeah.
Biggest
Biggest
Loser 2,
like the
2021.
like the senator in Georgia said, like, Mr. President, I voted. This is the second time I voted for you,
Yeah.
but you lost. He theoretically he lost the first time also.
Mhm.
He's lost ever since he's been
Yeah.
in office, and now he's.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking like, why are you trying to pardon your family? Isn't that
You know
just a
what?
mission? Isn't it a mission of guilt? I'm gonna pardon all my family for any charges that may come after January 21st.
This
So,
man is the
so you
biggest
did
hypocrite.
wrong.
Remember back when when he talked about the Fifth Amendment, or, about asserting the
Yeah,
Fifth Amendment, he said anybody that asserts the Fifth Amendment, and again, it's on tape. Anybody who asserts the Fifth Amendment is lying, or they're guilty. They're
they're
guilty.
guilty.
What did he
Automatically
do?
guilty.
What did he do when they were interviewing him for
Fifth
impeachment? He
Amendment.
pled the Fifth. So going back on his logic, he's a criminal. Going
But you
now,
know what he
fast real quick, Willie. Fast forward now, pardoning somebody, if you aren't guilty of anything, why even give anybody the time of day? They asked
right.
Rudy Giuliani today, "Are you a criminal?" He said, "I didn't ask for no pardon." But yeah, really, I'm sure you
Yeah.
didn't.
Because you're guilty. When you said I didn't ask for no pardon, that means you've already asked for it.
Listen
And
to the
secondly,
words.
and you know what? I was just looking at this lady, and she was over the pardoning committee, and she was talking
Mhm.
about these 20 pardons just unprecedented. But what he's not looking at is that once you pardon someone, then you and they come back and they subpoena you for a witness, you can't plead the fifth anymore.
Yeah,
So you don't have that in your tool chest. You can't use
yeah.
a fifth.
Mhm.
And secondly, I'm thinking he's worried about the federal charges, but what about the state charges? Where I'm thinking that's the one I'm looking at that he's not talking about, and that's why he's trying to accrue all this funds because of the
Yeah,
state charges
yeah,
is the one he's going to need money to fight this and stay
yeah.
out of the
And that's what because he
court.
has no money, and that should be very apparent to anybody who's looking. You have this guy that came in and said, "I'm not going to take no money. I'm going to do this." Why are you fundraising so hard? You got no money. He has no money. His
No,
lawyer, yeah, his lawyer said, "You know what? He has no money. He's a con. He just uses people up and spits them out. Look at all the people he's fired. He's said he brought in the best people. He brought in the best people to fire. That's what I see. He
yeah,
brought in the best
because
people to fire.
on that point right there. So I started looking at some of the people that he fired.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking like Tillerson. This guy was like the CEO of what was
Exxon,
Chevron,
Exxon.
Exxon. I said like, so he brought in some smart people like he said he was going to do, but he didn't want their opinion. He just wants them to be showpieces. I know everything, and you just sat here and just nod your head and say yes. And that's why Tillerson said that this guy's a dumbass. Every one of them said, and that's why they left. Both and you, the list goes on and talking about how incompetent this guy is. So when
Mhm,
you look at that, he was just like, I want these people in place, and I want
mhm.
them to be yes people. Look at Barr right now. Look at the Attorney General. He this was somebody he handpicked. They're saying like this guy's gonna stand by me through thick and thin.
And he
And then
did
the
for
other
a
day
minute.
he was like, but I can't find no evidence that there was any kind of rigged election. And then they asked him, so what do you think about a Barr? Are you gonna fire him? Uh, uh, uh,
Ask me
Come
later.
back with me in a couple of weeks. What kind of answer is that? And you only got 30 days to stay in
Yeah,
office. Uh,
yeah,
so this is a sad state.
yeah,
And I'm looking at Joe Biden and I'm looking at the staff that he has put together. And I'm seeing a lot of positive things out of the staff that he has put together. And a lot of
yeah,
people saying like, well, it look like it's the same Obama staff. And he does have some of those carryovers, but then he inserted some new people, like he got a lot more women in there, a little bit more diversity, even though he's getting a lot of backlash from civil rights
yeah.
organizations talking about like, yeah, but these people not in the major decision making.
Mhm.
And I'm thinking like, okay, you do have a point,
Yeah.
but it was just 4 years ago we had Ben fucking Carson sleep at the wheel,
Sleeping
like,
pin.
and and when I saw pictures of his staff, Ben was way back by the door like he was a doorman.
Mm.
That's the only color he had in his administration.
Yeah.
So I'm not really concerned about that because me personally, I'm not
Yeah.
a Democrat or a Republican or independent.
Yeah.
All I want to see is who's in charge and what they're about to do, so I know what to do. That's all. That's what I'm looking for,
Sure.
because these guys don't know me. I'm just trying to see how am I going to navigate who's ever in office and look at their policies and look at the changes that's coming about, and how does that affect me and mine?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, that's who I'm concerned with. Because man, I don't trust none of these guys. Uh, when I look at the vaccination that's coming down the pipe now,
Yeah.
which was because this virus is taking us out. See, I'm old, so I remember I don't trust them. So if you look at statistic right now, you're gonna see only like 14% of African Americans saying they would take this vaccination.
Yeah.
And the reason why, because we know about the other tests they ran on black people. I,
Yeah.
I'm a living witness. I remember when we used to be ravaged with polio. So when the polio vaccination come out, they were saying like, well, we got to see if this vaccination is good. I'm probably in second or third grade. So what they did was the health department came to our school. They put the polio vaccination in a sugar cube, and we just marched through and we took that sugar cube. And not beknownst to us that we didn't know. I mean, you're a kid, you don't know. Maybe and they probably told the principals and the school administration, well, we're gonna make sure all the kids are vaccinated, but they didn't tell us it was a polio vaccination. And so we became guinea pigs. I mean, it worked. But man, I'm saying like, so you can't be forthright and tell why don't everybody take it? And so we
Yeah.
can get a consensus of how it's gonna affect everybody, because everybody's DNA is different.
Yeah.
So that's why even now, someone asked me the other day, man, you gonna take that vaccination? I said, well, you know what, bro? I want to see about 2 or 3 million people take it. And I want to see and I want to follow their timeline and see what kind of adverse reaction they had. Because everybody's different. Because look at the coronavirus. It affects everybody differently.
Yep.
Look how many people are asymptomatic and it don't even bother them. But so and I feel bad because I don't want to think like I'm just stuck in my ways, and because I bought into that narrative and I know what they normally would do, that I still don't trust them. And it's a shame that I do not trust these guys at all. I don't trust Joe Biden. I don't trust Mitch McConnell. Once you show me who you are, that's all I need to know.
Yeah. I'll trust
You
you.
know, then
That's the
I
only time you
act
can.
accordingly.
That's really the only time anything comes out of here you can't trust. But anything
Nope.
they do and their actions speak to what they do, judge them on that, not what
Yeah.
they say.
James Baldwin said it best. I hear what you say, but I see what you do. so, so that's where I'm at.
Yeah.
It's a crying shame, because I'm thinking like, man, I was talking to my uncle recently, and he's been going through a lot of health issues. So we was discussing the vaccination. I was like, no, just like I told you, I need to see about 2 million people, at least
Hmm.
that many, to see what happened. He said, like, I understand what you're saying. He said, but for me, with my underlying condition, if
Yeah.
I don't take that vaccination, thinking that it might be something detrimental to me, and I mess around and get COVID, that's a death sentence for me. And so, you know what? I took his point. I understand exactly where he's coming from. But at the same time, it's saying, because when you look at the United States of America, they have been lying since day one.
Mm.
I'm looking at the statistic, and they were saying 14% of black people say they don't trust the COVID, and 34% of Latinos say they don't trust it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking at those two numbers, and I'm looking at other numbers when it really comes to black and brown. I know these guys saying like, well, you know what? I'll give ears a little better chance than I will him, because they just got this. I don't know what it is. I don't know what the fuck black people done
Hmm.
to make white people just don't trust us, or just don't want to accept us at all, even in
Hmm.
2020. I'm still trying to figure that shit out. And
Hmm.
it's just like, what the hell? Uh, and I'm thinking like, yeah, but you're gonna fuck them too. Look at the
Yeah.
Native Americans.
Yeah.
They invite, and these guys are ravaged right now in South Dakota, in
Yeah.
all the reservation where they're just like dying and they don't have anything. So I don't know what the next administration going to really be able to do because we one thing I give Trump credit for, he just showed us how far behind we really were.
Yeah. He
We
pulled
I
the blinds off of everybody. He pulled back the
yeah,
curtain.
yeah. Because you know what? 'Cause me personally, I'm not great, but I'm doing better than a lot of people per
Sure.
se. But then when I look at it, I'm thinking like, yeah, so when I started looking at the wealth disparities, I saw a statistic because they just blew my mind. It was saying like the average white person has 171,000 net worth. The average black person has $17,000 net worth. I'm thinking like the
Wow.
shit. Like and for Hispanic, it was like 171 to say like uh maybe 45 or $50,000. When you started doing those numbers, I mean, $171,000 is going to get you way more than 17,000 or 20,000. When you
Mhm.
can't buy homes in the areas you want to, when you can't build your net worth up because it's going to be predicated on what you can buy and what kind of value you're getting for your money. If you buy a home in 1997 for $100,000, look what it's worth today. But if you're not allowed to even buy a home in 1997 and you could only stay in a home that costs like $20,000, well, how much is that worth today compared to how much one with 1997 to now worth? I don't care if you live in Newport Coast. I
Yeah.
don't care where you live. And I think that is atrocious. How much the land that you're supposed to own, when did you pay that off? And you never pay that off.
Never. No, never. That's how, and that's how they have control. And that's how they.
Yeah,
It's these little things. It's these little things that and we're going off into something else, but I see what you're saying though. The income disparity, the income gap is really something that we need to look at. But I can't wait till we get back to where we can say, you know what, when we can have these conversations about taxation, we can have these conversations about something other than one person and the actions that they're doing in order that pushes us back and tests the Constitution itself because of what is that he's doing. He's talking about that he's not going to go to the inauguration now, and Joe Biden said, well, you know what, that's okay, but I'm okay with it for me, but for the country,
it
there
looks
should be a
bad.
visual. There should be a visual where we both come together as left and right and say, you know what, this is the
Transparent power.
transition of power. And if he doesn't do that, because what he's trying to do is saying this is a rigged election and all that stuff, but again, he's been saying that since 2016. Had he not won, we would have this. We would be having the same conversation in 2020 and going into 2021 in 2017. Because
Yeah,
had he lost, this is the same conversation that we would have. But he won, so he postponed it 4 years, and here we are.
yeah.
Simple.
Because
It's
he
not
kept
hard. It's not rocket science. Go back and look.
if he hadn't won in 2016, we still be talking about this same issue today
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
because that's the way it is. And
Yeah.
and another thing, and to your point, is like so we have to when we stuck on these conversations as far as race, wealth,
Mhm. Yeah.
disparity, all these things right here, it keeps us focused on that when the main thing is when I looked at the Tea Party, they was like we taxed enough already.
Yeah.
Why we keep paying the same taxes on the things that we've been paying for 20, 30 years and 40 years? Why are we still doing that? And
Mhm.
and that's why when it comes to parties, Democrat and Republican, I don't care about that. You know what? Because some things I'm conservative about and some things I'm
Yeah. Agree.
liberal
Same.
about. And 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 I look at those things, I'm saying like, so when we have these discussions about people disagreeing with things, well, let's sit down and listen to everybody
Yeah.
disagreement and see if we can come to a consensus saying like, okay, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying, but maybe if we tweak it just a little bit, everybody would benefit for it. But they don't seem to
Absolutely.
want that. And I think it's
No.
the ones that's in charge that don't want that because it's gonna demean them, and that's why they're in there and do. Why do you think why is Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham, even all of those guys, why do you get to stay in there for so long? I saw
Because they make the laws. They make the laws. That's why they want
that
to keep it. They
they
want to keep it that way.
make
Oh, so the president, even though we're equal in our powers, the court gets lifetime.
Yeah.
The Senate gets every 6 years, right?
Yeah.
And the president only gets 4.
Yeah. Because they get
Why don't
he's just a PR person. They
everybody should
run
get
these policies.
everybody should get 2 or 4 years and be done with it. Everybody,
I saw
senators.
I saw my girl Katie Porter. Uh,
Oh, I saw. Yeah, I like her.
you see that with Minucci,
No,
Steve Minucci? Oh,
well,
you
he
should.
asked her if she was a lawyer, right? I saw that part.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because she was asking him about the $400 billion that he
That's
was
missing.
using, and she said, like, well, is this 2026? Everybody knows it's not 2026. He said, like, I know, but it seemed like you think it's 2026 because you can't move those funds until 2026. And you're doing it right now, and you're not giving any kind of transparency. And if you're not a lawyer, you probably don't understand it. So he was really taken aback by her. How dare you to question me? Like, I'm Steve Minucci. You're a little fucking asshole. That's what you are, Steve Minucci. That's what you are, really. When you look at these guys and the Steve Minucci's and the Steve Miller and all these guys, look how much money Wall Street has made off of COVID and this debacle that we're in now.
Mm-hmm.
Trillions of dollars.
Yeah.
I saw a thing the other day that was saying, like, if black people didn't have to go through racism, they lost $87 trillion because of racism.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, like, dude, but it's only going to benefit you. Where else they spend the money at, except for the United States?
Yeah. Well, but they're
Uh,
scared. They're scared.
it's
That's what it is. That's what it
I
comes
don't
down
know.
to, Willie. No,
I'm
and
trying.
and I don't get it either. But I'm not in their shoes to say,
No,
you know what? I'm hearing my leader talk about they're drug dealers, they're bad for you, they're this. He's talking about black people. Well, vote for me. What do you got to lose? And now everybody. Well, look where we're at now. Basically, what we got to lose is our lives.
I
And so
lied.
when you have a leader telling you that, and like they're coming after you, and they're coming for your jobs and all that stuff, nobody's coming for your job. We're just trying to get our peace,
Like
move
everybody
along,
else.
and do best for our family. We're so family oriented in our communities that we just
Yeah,
want to do best by our families and get on with our day. That's it.
that's
That's it. And
it.
if sometimes if you don't have, unfortunately, there's people that don't have and are
Yeah,
pushed backed up into a corner that they're doing things to try to try to make it to the next day to
exactly.
try to get speak. But until we address those things and not look the other way and vilify those people that need help because there is mental health issues in the communities.
A
But
lot.
if we don't look at those and say, how can we address them instead of policing and jailing everybody for every minor offense? There's major offenses and they should be jailed, and I agree.
Yeah,
But when we have to really take a look at it in order to say, what, let's look at it and then take the next step.
yeah.
And I think
What,
that's
what,
really where we need to get to.
yeah, because we got to find the cause and the effect, and we can see how it affects people when they're left out and they're marginalized, and
Yeah.
you can see what happened to them. At this time, I feel so bad for restaurant owners because they were saying, like, okay, you guys are gonna take the brunt of this, so you can't go out and eat, you can't have people in your place. Right now in LA, there are over 30,000 restaurants. So once you see 30,000 restaurants, times that by the employees, how many people is that affected? All the
Yeah.
way down the line, food chain, warehouses, everything. It's a trickle effect, and these guys seem like uh, because I'm thinking, like, why are you sitting here on the people's money? You gave them a little stimulus check like 6 or 7 months ago, which equates to about like $4 an hour for 2 weeks. That's what it pretty much amount to. You didn't get it.
Yeah.
Wasn't anything that you could do. It might give you an opportunity to pay a rent for a month, maybe if it's two people in the household. But other than that, you're gonna lose everything you work for. And
Mhm.
most of these people are gonna lose their restaurant and their business. And
Yeah.
where are they gonna get the startup on when you see what they done with the PPEs? I,
Yeah.
I saw this guy he got $4 million in PPE, didn't even deserve it.
No.
What was he doing? Buying Lamborghinis, Gucci
Yeah.
watches.
Yeah.
Just
They're not
wow.
putting money back. They're supposed to
Yeah,
put money back. And that's why they talk about Mnuchin. Where's this all? Why didn't you use this money? Why didn't you use it? Why isn't it out there
yeah,
circulating to help somebody? It's just sitting over here in this account. And so it's just, again, it's the checks and balances that this administration doesn't like the regulations for anybody. You don't like
no,
regulations. And that's, when you're in business, you don't want regulations because you want to fudge taxes. I had business.
I
I
get it.
did business
You
taxes
know, I
before.
I, I
You
watched
fudge a
truck
little bit
drivers.
here and there. What's that?
Yeah, I watched truck drivers when they were saying like, okay, you can only drive for 8 hours at a time, and we're gonna check your log and see
Yeah.
when you departed and where you are right now. So they have two sets of books.
Hmm.
Like bookkeepers have two sets of books,
Oh yeah.
one for them, one
There's
for
ways
us.
around everything. Yeah.
And it's because this is the way you've always done it. They doing what you taught them to do. That's why they're doing stuff, because you
Yeah.
taught them how to do it. So you feast upon them. When you go back to disparities in income, I could often see, and I take me for example, when I got ready to buy my home, they said like, well, you can't buy a home in Orange County. I was like, why? Why can't you
Mhm.
buy one? Wow, because it's Orange County and you can't afford that. I said, but I'm working with people that I know that's making the same amount of money that I'm making, and they have a home. So why can't you do that?
Yep.
And and most times people won't fight, and that's the problem.
Yeah.
A
They
lot
hear
of
no
people,
and they walk away.
yeah, they'll walk. My sister, they had a conversation with me. She's my older sister, and she told me a couple of weeks ago, and we was talking about things like this, because we can talk about stuff like that. She said, like, you know what this old white guy told me? I said, like, no, because I kind of knew who he was. She said, like, he told her, you know the reason why black people really don't have more than what they have? She said, like, why? She said, because you guys won't speak up. You won't ask questions. You just take it and go on. And I'm going like, fuck, I didn't get that lesson because you ain't gonna tell me that shit. I ain't
Hmm.
buying that. I want to know
Yeah.
why, and if not, show me why I can't. You got to show me all the way the reason why I can't before I believe what you say.
Yeah.
And I've seen so many people, because this is deeply ingrained in a lot of. I don't use the word African American a lot. I kind of
Uh-huh.
like don't, because I'm thinking
Yeah.
like, fuck, I ain't never been to Africa. I don't have anything against African people. I don't
Yeah.
even.
No.
I know some African people, but when they label you and they put a label on you, then that's gonna put you into a box. So I've always I ain't mad at people that use that. But I'm saying like
Mhm.
you don't hear them saying, "Oh, we European American." You don't hear that shit, do you? You don't hear them say Scottish American. And then once you started looking at the history, and you was saying like, what was it not long ago when Trump was saying like, how can they come from Norway? Why do they have to come
Yeah.
from a country that's brown and black? Why
That's when
can't
they said the shithole countries. That's when they
yeah,
said they were shithole countries. Yeah.
those shit old countries, why they can't come from Norway or Sweden? Because they want to. Because if you come from Sweden and you come from Norway or you come from Russia, until you speak, you won't know you came from those countries, and then they'll assimilate you into the white population. That's the way it's been, and that's how they get you, and that's how they pigeonhole people into certain demographics.
Yeah.
And so I never been one of those people. I don't want nobody. I don't want a box, because I don't care how big the box is. It still got four sides and they got a top. I just don't want that. That's
Right.
you're still gonna have limitations. So I just
That's
want to be
right.
on the open plains and run free, just like they do. I don't
Mhm.
want anything any more than anybody else want for their family.
Yeah. I want to drive down the street and not be nervous when I see lights behind me. Is that a lot to ask for? Because
That
I know
ain't
people that look like, even to this day, I'll get I'll get lights behind me and it's I'll see it and then just get nervous. I didn't
yeah.
do anything wrong, but just growing up, how we grew up and just the things that you see,
You
who
do.
knows? Who knows what's gonna happen? So you just
Yeah,
sit there and you put your hands up and just kind of wait, follow instructions like we're taught,
like anybody else.
and hope for the best. I mean, it worked out. I mean, for the most part, but for some
You-
people, you
But
don't
it's
say
in the
the
back
wrong
of your
thing.
mind all the time.
Yeah, you have
I
to.
told
You
my
have to. So we want to get to a place where we can be like that. Hey, officer, how's it going? Blah blah blah, which is cool. Yeah, everything's good.
I never had a conversation with an officer, just unless he was someone I knew that was an officer.
Yeah.
But just Joe Blow officer. My wife and I, we was stopped uh, at a little convenience store just 2 days ago. We pulled in, and I didn't go in right away because I just was talking to someone on the phone, and then a cop pulled in right beside us and backed in, and she said, "Oh my God, there's a cop." That's how you are so just it's just
Program.
ingrained in you. And I was like, fuck them. We just sitting here just like anybody else.
Hmm.
And she was visibly nervous because the
Shape.
cops were there, even though we don't do shit.
Yeah.
I told my neighbor, we was having a conversation and I'm talking to him. And so he never heard, and he's all one of those religious type persons.
Okay.
But me, I don't. If you religious, so you religious.
Hmm.
So I'm giving them some knowledge, and I told him at the end of the conversation, I said, bro, you got to be fed. He said, what was that you said? I said, you got to be fed, man. He's
Eddie.
like, what is fed? I was like, you got to fuck everybody and do you. Oh my god.
Hey, there's no true words. There's no true. No truer four words than that.
There's
You
no.
have. You
You
have.
have to be, man, or do you know what? Because I told him, I said, you know what? I said, like every day, my little routine, I grab my shepherd, put his harness on, and I go take me a 2 or 3 mile walk.
Hmm.
And I told him, I said, every day, I said, I can be me until I get to that sidewalk, and then I got to carry myself differently.
Yeah.
And I said, I have to put on that armor just like you put on the seatbelt. And it's just something that just pisses me off because I'm saying like, damn, I don't even do shit. But the looks you get, I talked to a friend of mine from Luxembourg, Germany, uh,
Hmm.
last week. This guy's a renowned horse trainer. I- He's a distant cousin, but I've been knowing him all my life. And then he moved to Luxembourg, Germany. So I said, like, dude, how is it in Luxembourg, Germany? I said, like, how would you accept it there? Because we so conscious here that we think it's that
Yeah.
way everywhere. So
Hmm.
he told me, he said, like, bro, he said, like, for about a year, people just looked at me. He said they didn't say anything. He said, but then one day I was in a shop and I spoke and they said, oh my God, you speak English? He said, like, yeah, I'm from Chicago. He said, like, it's been gravy ever since. Oh, we love America. And he was saying, and they were saying, like, why did you guys vote for Trump? And he said, like, why did you guys even put it over someone like him? And he said, like, this is the first time in his life that he has never felt any kind of racial tension or anything. He said it was so unusual. He couldn't even, it took him a minute to adjust to that. And I said, well, you know what happened if you bring your ass back over here now?
Yeah.
You want, don't forget.
Yeah. No, but
Don't forget.
isn't that something though?
Yeah,
Germany. Think about the
Germany.
history of Germany. Think about where we're at now.
Yeah. He told me,
Who, if you had those two analogies and you looked at them, you
you
would
think
think
it
that
did.
that is the more the more advanced country, and they're advanced the hell of a lot.
Yeah.
But societally, it seems like they seem because just how he's talking to you about he doesn't feel that here, but just being from here and just
He told me, he
even
said,
knowing
like,
what we know now, it's
it's crazy. He said, like, in
different.
Germany, if you even thought about putting on a swastika sign, your ass going to jail.
Oh wow,
He
yeah,
he said, like, they took Adolf Hitler's grave and they took a bulldozer and they just bulldozed that shit down and they don't even talk about that bit. They were saying he was a crazy, deranged fuck. And he was saying, like, Hitler was saying, like, he got a lot of his ideas about all this racial shit from the United States. But he said, but it got to a point where he started seeing how they were doing the blacks in the South. He said, oh, we can't do that. That's how that's how fucking sad this country is. But they still will not acknowledge their history. And how are
yeah,
we gonna ever get past our past if we don't address it and talk
yeah.
about it so we can move the fuck on down the road? Because we got
That's it.
climate change, we got viruses and everything. Right now, I'm so worried about our young people because
Yeah,
man, these guys staying at home on Zoom, that's not gonna get it done. They gotta have interaction with other people.
you
And
have to. Yeah,
this year is gonna set them back 10 years.
yeah.
They
It's gonna
don't do
set
it.
back quite a ways.
Yeah.
We have to go I mean, we have to go by year-round school, and then tutors on top of that, just to catch them up because the average 16, 17, 18-year-old that graduates, they're going to
No.
be 2021 maybe by the time they get that education.
Yeah.
But that's the current situation, the current state of play. So, but these are all good conversations, and we have to have more of these conversations.
We have to.
Because
People just gonna have to
there is so much more out there that we need to really focus
we
on as
have to
opposed to
talk. People
yeah,
gonna have to talk and
whatever the
put
conversation is.
Yeah, regardless, I don't care if religions, politics, social, it does not matter because we can't just assume and just can't tweet our way out of this environment that we're in because we're losing time. Uh,
Yeah.
I saw a thing.
Time, again, nobody gets time back.
No, you don't get it back. But
Mhm.
like Albert Einstein said, time is only uh, memory and anticipation. And so that, and I don't want to keep memorizing and rehashing this over and over
Yeah.
again. That's why it seems so fresh. But we've been talking about this for 400 years. Come on, man, we got to have a different conversation. This is
Yeah.
just old. What have we gotten us by just sitting here going through this? Like King said, the the segregated places in America is on Sunday morning in churches, and they use religion and they hide all behind this stuff. We as a nation going to have to get past that. We got
Yeah.
too much at stake. Scientists the other day said they done this thing about the mind and the brain, and they were saying like there's a segment of our brain that will never change. It'll always remain the same. That's how. And they say like it doesn't matter how old you get, that part of your brain is going to be always the same, and it's going to be like uh, it's going to be saying your brain going to say, "Oh, you look at something, it's oh, that's Willie right there," and it takes
Hmm.
2.3 nanoseconds for your brain to recognize this is who this is.
Yeah.
And we getting all this information with things that we need to be advancing, but in the United States, man, we're losing in education. That's crazy. We're losing in our kids, and I do have a lot of hope for our children. Those are the one I'm banking on. I love talking to
Yeah.
young people.
Betsy DeVos is leaving, so maybe that'll help.
I'm so glad. That's the second best move of the whole. Send Bessie ass
Yeah.
home. Bessie just need to
Wherever she's
fucking
going, let her go somewhere.
go back and put on those little mammy made dresses and just get the fuck out of people. Like you have no business being in education. Oh, you serious, man? Because she had money, and you know how your boy is about
That's
people
it.
with money. He love them.
Hmm.
So
Automatically, they're smart.
yeah,
But just by that analogy, look at him. Look at him. He said everybody has money, smart. But I mean, he was smart to use the media the way he did, and I give him
yeah.
that. I give him credit for that. But he's not smart. He's not smart at all. He's not smart. He's not.
But
Look
not
at
a,
the whole body of work that this man has done. What I mean by the whole body of work, I'm talking about Trump steaks, Trump water, Trump tires, Trump casinos,
his
all of
name.
these things.
That's the
If
smartest move
you
he made.
if you
Patting his name.
fail if you fail at over 75, 80%,
That's
that's a F. And in any school, even Betsy DeVos school, you're gonna fail.
even
You're gonna
Bessie gonna
fail.
fail your ass.
The
You
Betsy
know
gonna
what?
fail. You get 25%.
But I'm saying when you said he was smart to that degree,
Mhm.
but when you listen to the people that produced that show he was on the NBC,
Oh,
what was
Apprentice.
it? The Apprentice?
Apprentice. Yeah.
I listened to one of the producers. He said like, man, we really want to apologize for this because we
They
made
think
this
they
think he was smart.
they pumped him up. Yeah.
Yeah, because they said the ratings were good, so we just pumped
Yeah.
his ass up because they were saying like, "Man, he's a dumbass, but that's okay. The people like him."
Yeah.
And he bought into them thinking he was smart, but
He
he's
felt
not
himself. He feels himself. He feels himself. That's what it comes down
all
to.
the time. It's he feel a little of himself because that's all it is.
So I'm
You
gonna
don't
say pardon. I'm gonna say pardon me because we're gonna end the show at this
okay.
point. But looking at anything with change has to start with acknowledging that there is a problem. And
Yeah,
until we get to that point, we're going to be talking in circles, talking past each other, be polarized. So we have to come to the understanding as a society and as a people. And I mean everybody. I'm talking about a human
everyone.
race. I'm talking about people in the United States because we talked about Germany, and they seem to have, they're embracing people, Americans, and having these conversations with people that don't look like each other. We have to have that here. I'm not your enemy, Willie. You're not my enemy. Nobody white is my enemy. Nobody of Asian
No,
descent is my enemy. We have to really look at each other and say, you know what? We have to come together because when it comes down to it, there was no borders here when the first man stepped, when the first man was placed here, the Big Bang, whatever you want to call it,
No.
there was no borders. These borders are man-made, has nothing to do with Bible, has nothing to do with anything else. It's a matter of us making that conscious decision to say, you know what, we have to start now. It has to start with me, and I have to reach out to somebody that thinks different than me, because when you have millions of people doing that, then we can take a baby step forward. But until then, we're going to be talking in circles and talking past each other.
And I'm truly hopeful that in 2021, maybe 2020, I'm hoping that it was a wake-up call for us to let us know what we need to do going forward. And that's what I want, man. I just want people to just, you know what? So you don't have to like everything I like, and I don't have to like everything you like. It's just about respect. You know, like we can live next door to each other, and I don't care what you do. I respect you, you respect me.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much all that is. It's so simple. I do not know why we continuously make this so hard. And it's frustrating, because it's just like, man, because our kids are looking at us, and their kids are going to be looking at them. And we're saying, like, why do y'all do that? That's kind of stupid.
Yeah.
And that's what kids are saying now.
And it doesn't make sense to them.
It's
we
stupid.
grew up in a different time. You grew up in a different time. Our kids are growing up in a different time. I grew up in a different time. But we have to get past it. And that's what I'm saying. We have to get past it, you know, to get to the mountaintop.
Yeah. Otherwise, man, next 400 years after I'm gone and wormholes are crawling out of my eyes, they still going to be talking about this, and it's not going to mean, and we still won't be going nowhere. Everybody be going to the moon and Jupiter and back, and we still be stuck on this.
Yeah.
And it's just, and it's not even a disease. That's what's so sad about it. This is a choice. And you do not have to make this choice, man. Just, I treat you right, you treat me right. We don't have to agree on everything. How long we've been knowing each other? That's just the way it goes.
Yes, sir.
So hopefully next week, I'm hoping in the future, in our podcast, we'll be talking very little about politics. Politics is just like, it's enough already.
Yeah, we want this channel to be more uplifting. We want to talk about music. I got a lot of music stuff in the back. Willie has a lot of musical, you know, background too. Let's talk about music. Let's talk about sports. I don't like his pictures behind him, but
you love those pictures. Don't be lying.
No, I'm not a Laker fan. No, sorry.
He's a diehard Laker fan.
Yeah, no, but but yeah, let's talk about stuff like that. Once we talk about stuff like that, we can keep it moving forward. But until then, we have to have these conversations.
Yeah, we got to have these conversations. So, my brother, to the next time, to all those people out there, keep that head up, keep thinking positives. Let's make those changes. It's
conscious changes.
Yeah, we can't use a politician. It's up to us. It's more of us than it is of them. Yep. So it's our country. It's not their country.
Power in numbers.
That's right.
Power in them.
To the next time.
Yes, sir. You be safe out there, everybody. I know COVID's happening. Everybody's getting shut down. Stay at home. If you want to leave a comment down below, Mr. Willie and I will look at them. Maybe we'll answer it in the next show. But thank you for tuning in, and we hope to see you guys next week. My name is
Willie,
and we always going in. Peace out.
And remember, Fetty.
Stay Fetty, always.
All day, every day.
Yes, sir.
All right, my brother.
All right.